Hi and welcome to the Resources Roadhouse. I'm Wally and guess where I am? I'm in Kalgoorlie at the annual Diggers and Dealers Mining Forum, and I've just had a very interesting chat with Allison Britt, who's a director at Geoscience Australia. Now, this is a very interesting subject about what we can do with a lot of mining waste and what we might be able to turn it into in the future. Hi Allison, welcome to the Roadhouse. It's good to see you.
Yeah, hi Wally. Really pleased to be here at Diggers this year and having the opportunity to talk to you today.
All right, well, just before we came on air, we were having a chat about Geoscience's latest project, the Atlas of Australian Mine Waste, and I find this a very interesting project. Now, can you sort of explain to us how it came about and what it's going to be?
Yeah, so the Atlas of Australian Mine Waste is part of our Exploring for the Future program, which is the federal government's $250 million program that's running over 8 years to get the data and the information about our geology out to our mineral explorers and other land users so that they can make informed decisions for responsible and sustainable resource development. And one of the questions that kept coming up again and again was, well, with this transition to net zero and the need for critical minerals, why don't we just reprocess our mine tailings? We've got a lot of them. We've been mining for decades, hundreds of years in Australia. So maybe some of these tailings dams actually have critical minerals in them because they weren't of interest back in the day. And so we thought, well, okay, that's great. But to do this in a systematic way, to take a national approach to this, there's a few questions we need to answer. And the first question is, where is our mine waste? Where are our tailings dams and rock dumps? Everybody thinks, well, they're next to the mine, obviously, but nobody's actually put lats and longs on these things in a national, systematic way. So that was the first thing we had to do. The second question is, okay, once you know where the tailings dams and the rock dumps actually are, what's in them? And so then we've got an approach to that where we're looking at we're doing a national sampling campaign. And then the third question is, once you know where they are and what's in them, is it actually viable to reprocess them? And so that from an economic point of view and from an environmental point of view. So I'm going to step you back to the first question now. Where are they? So to answer that question, we partnered with RMIT University, and they did some fantastic work with us. And what we did was we pulled together, okay, I'm going to sound like a bit of a data nerd here, but we had to get together a really great data schema to capture all the information that you need to set up a database to show these things in a digital portal. And so we released that digital portal in late June. And you can see the image here on the screen here. So anybody can go into this and it will provide you information. We've got about 1,400 sites in there so far, adding more every day. And it will provide you accurate information about where they're located, their operational status, what mine they belong to, what was mined, what they were mining for at the time, and whether they're being rehabilitated or not. So all of that sort of basic first level information. Then we go to that second question, what's in them? And to answer that question, we've partnered with our colleagues at the University of Queensland and RMIT University again, and we're leading, and then we've got a national sampling campaign going on across the country. So the idea is to take a mineral systems approach. We know that when you have major mineral types, say, for example, you might have a nickel mine, and its mineral system tells you that it might have scandium or platinum group elements associated with the nickel. Or you might look at a copper mine and say, well, the mineral system that belongs to tells us it might have cobalt associated with it. So we can take those mineral systems approach, and then we can get the actual sampling of these mineral systems across the country, put it together, and we can model what we expect to find in the tailings dam. So we can look at what was mined, how it was processed, what we think reported to concentrate, and what we reported to the tailings over time. And from that, we get a map of secondary prospectivity for the nation. So that's going on at the moment. We're getting great support from great collaboration from our geological surveys, and between the geological surveys and Geoscience Australia's funding and the fantastic work that the University of Queensland, the MyWatch group and RMIT are doing, we've covered about 90 sites so far. So that's really exciting that we're going to get that information out there for people to use.
And as you're speaking, I'm just thinking like it's going to be an interesting thing to see how this rolls along, because we're looking at old gold mines and probably finding that they could have been productive lithium mines, and then in the future we'll be looking at old lithium mines and finding out they could have been productive gold mines.
Well, absolutely, because we know that our lithium pegmatites used to be actually started off as tin deposits, then they became tantalum deposits, and now they're lithium deposits. So there's those mineral associations coming out again and again. But one of the things that, so then it's getting to the third question, is it viable to reprocess these things? And the ANSTO is doing some fantastic work where they're looking at lithium tailings, and is there a new way of extracting lithium from old tailings, etc. But one of the very fundamental questions to ask is, well, how much tailings is there? Because if it's only a little tailings dam and the concentrations of the elements you want to load, you may not make much money out of it. But if it's a big tailings dam, then it'd be good to know just what the volume is. Yeah. And so to determine that from a first-pass national scale, we've partnered with Monash University, and they're using satellite data to see how these mine tailings have grown over time and estimating a volume for them from satellite data. And then we can combine that with the concentration data we have from the National Sampling Campaign to get that first-pass idea of what the content might be, and then that's when companies can then come in and say, do that really detailed modelling, and also looking at it from that environmental and legislative aspects about whether it's actually viable to reprocess. So,
Okay, and it's sort of like it's almost a sophisticated recycling, isn't it? Because there's a lot of stuff that was thrown away, that was not unloved and neglected.
That's right.
Which you can have a whole new life, can have a whole new contribution to the whole decarbonisation.
Absolutely. And one of the questions that we don't know is, okay, first of all, is it viable to reprocess? And we're trying to find that out. And the answer might be maybe it's 1 in 10, maybe it's 1 in 100, we don't know. In science, a null result is still a result, and I feel we've got to do this work because we've got to know the answer, because it would be so awful if we just sort of dismissed it and we walked away from pots of gold literally sitting in the ground because we just thought it was going to be difficult. And I always say the expression waste not, want not. I think that applies perfectly to this concept of mine waste recycling, feeds into our those ESG responsibilities that we take seriously in Australia, and it's just an additional source of diversification for our supply chains.
Well, it sounds to me, Allison, that geoscience is promising an atlas but delivering a future. So,
sounds awesome.
You can use that if you like. All right. Well, thanks very much for being part of the radio. That is one of the most interesting interviews we've done in a long time. And thank you very much. And please keep us up to speed on what's happening.
Lovely to be here, and thank you so much for the opportunity.